NFL being back should be a party, right? Everyone's excited. We have football for 10 straight hours. It's going to be great. We're all going to win a ton of money. No. It was all pain and suffering and more pain. I am on full tilt mode. I couldn't even watch the second half of that Cowboys-Bucs game. I had to turn it off. I had to go to Chipotle. I had to eat away the pain of today. And that's what I did. And then I just came to make this video. We want to lighten Leonard Fournette's workload. Let's keep him in the 60% of the snap range. Rachaad White, he's been phenomenal in camp. He's going to have a big role in this offense. All right, let's go. Let's recap my lineup here. So, I didn't play Leonard Fournette. Yeah, because I was buying into what the coaching staff was saying. And Leonard Fournette played 102% of the snaps and went for 200 yards. There's so much pain about this showdown slate. Low-owned Godwin. Didn't end up playing him, but he was a great GPP play. He gets hurt, so over-owned Julio gets there for the people. Julio has like 3 carries in the ground. Like, what are we giving Dusty Julio end arounds for? I think someone make some sense out of that for me. Like, why are we running end arounds to Julio Jones? Oh, and don't get me started on the main slate too. Main slate, I shoveled my money in the fire. Couple points away from cash games. Deciding between Randall Cobb or Dotson. I'm guessing you can tell where I went, right? And then prize picks, almost more of the same. Just putting my money in the fire. Took the under and Leonard Fournette. He had the over in like first half of the first quarter. I did take the over in Noah Brown receptions, so it just doesn't matter. So again, this game really pissed me off. Like, I couldn't. Well, I'm actually like really mad. But yeah, so that's a recap of my lineup. I went to Ferguson just because I didn't know who the Cowboys number 3 wide receiver was going to be. I talked about it for a while. It was going to be either Houston or Fiocco. If you guessed right and went to Houston, well, then you probably made some money because I think Houston has like 2 or 3 catches at the flat man. I went to Ferguson. Now, Ferguson's been out there for a decent amount, but he didn't run a ton of routes. But yeah, that's just recap is gross. This is the winning lineup right now in my tournament. Fournette captain, Mike Evans, Brady, Schultz, Coolidge. I can't look at this. I'm gonna be sick. I'm gonna throw up my Chipotle. We gotta move on. And it doesn't get much better too in this Monday Night Football game. There is a Millie Maker though. There is a Millie Maker, so I'm excited for that. But Broncos, Seahawks, ugh. Whew. Disgusting game. Hopefully it's better than the game tonight. We're just all defense and kickers. Once again, I want to mention this. I would load up on the defense in the preseason against like all 4-string players. No turnovers. Offense right down the field. We have 2 really solid offenses here. Just kick the ball like 100 times, a bunch of punts, sacks. All right, enough of today because I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on to this Monday Night Football show. So let's do it. We'll start off with that. Sorry about that. Denver and Seattle. Again, it is a 44 over under, and we currently have the Broncos at 7-point favorites. We got Russell Wilson returning to Seattle. So Russell Wilson at the top at 11-8. I mean, this Seattle defense not going to be great this year. So Russell Wilson didn't have his best year last year. Was, a bit banged up at times. I think he's probably the safest play on the board, just because I like the matchup for him against Seattle. Obviously, revenge game narrative. That's a little bit of rushing upside. He's similar to Dak Prescott, right? He can go get you 20, 30 yards in the ground. So I think Russell Wilson looks great there at the top. Now, running back, we have Javonte Williams at 10-2, MG3 at 7-4. I don't love the price points for either. Last year was kind of an even 50-50 split with these guys. Now, Javonte Williams, I think everyone can see that he is the more talented back of the two. But that didn't always mean that he was getting more carries. So like I said, it was relatively even split with these guys. Now, like I said, I do think Javonte's more talented, but 10.2K for a guy that, what do we expect in this year? Like 60-40 split with those two? Maybe at best 70-30 Javonte Williams, MG3. So that's the tough part here. Again, I like the matchup a lot. It's just, like, Javonte is going to be splitting snaps here with Melvin Gordon. Now, again, how much they, like, what exactly is the split? We're not sure. But I would guess somewhere probably like 60-40, I think, for Williams to MG3. So it makes both running backs in play. I don't think either are must plays. But I do expect this offense to be better with Russell Wilson running the show. At wide receiver, we have the top two options here in Sutton and Judy. Sutton's at 9-4, Judy's at 8-2. I guess for the price, maybe a small preference to Jerry Judy, who missed a lot of games last year, came back like around week 8. I think he's a pretty talented wide receiver, and it's been interesting to see how he plays with Russell Wilson. Again, we didn't see any of that in the preseason. And then Courtland Sutton's at 9-4. Again, these are your top two targets. Both have a ceiling. I think both are firmly in play. You can play them both together if you wanted to stack up Denver in this game. I think that's totally fine, but a small preference for me for Judy just for the discount. And with the backup quarterbacks, so Albert O is 5K. He is listed number 1 on the depth chart. So I think he's a solid option. He wasn't on the injury report. He's only, again, $5,000. Last year, he had to deal with Noah Fant, who, again, is actually on Seattle. We'll talk about him. But yeah, Albert O, if he's going to be playing majority of the game at 5K, like, he's a solid receiving tight end. So I think he's a decent salary relief play. The Broncos defense, I do like. Now, like, as I've said so far in the showdowns, do the opposite. And I said that in the Sunday night showdown. I was like, I'm not really interested in the defenses. This is projected to be a high-scoring game, and the defenses are smashing. So I do have interest in the Broncos. So that means the Seahawks are putting up like 45 points tomorrow. But yeah, this Seahawks offense is not going to be great. I have no trust in Geno Smith. So I do think the Broncos defense are viable there for it's a lower total game. So yeah, they're not. It's not like the Broncos D is super cheap, but they're in play for me. And then KJ Hamler, I expect him to be available. He should be the number 3 wide receiver. They have him listed as questionable, but he played in last preseason game. He's been practicing in limited fashion, and you're getting him at a relatively cheap price point for a guy that I think is gonna, if he can stay healthy, I think he's like a solid wide receiver. I do. So should be playing some in the slot there, KJ Hamler. So yeah, 4.4K. I do think, assuming he plays, I think he will, is a decent value play. McManus, again, kickers obviously in play. Kickers had, especially who's the Bucks kicker? Maher, or is that the Cowboys kicker? I forget. Is it Suckup? I think it's Suckup. But yeah, McManus 4.2K does make for a pretty solid play there. Other than that, I mean, we can take a look at the Denver depth chart. So they have Eric Tomlinson listed as the number 2 tight end, but he's really just a blocking tight end. Eric Saubert is the 3rd string tight end. A wide receiver, we do have rookie Montrell Washington as the number 4 guy. He is only $200. I expect him to play. And if Hamler doesn't play for some reason, or maybe they kind of take it easy in the snaps, you could see Washington get extended a bit more. And at $200, I do think he's a dart throw you can consider for Denver. And yes, that is it for Denver. Let's move on to Seattle. We have Geno Smith, only 8.6K. Now, as I said, I have very little faith in Geno Smith, but it is cheap, right? 8.6K. It's pretty cheap for a quarterback. So he's in play for that reason. If Geno Smith was like 10K plus, like majority of the quarterbacks are in these showdowns, wouldn't have much interest. But since he's a lot cheaper, that does make him in play. You would think it's going to be a good game script for them, right? You would think that Seattle's going to be playing from behind. So, yes, Geno Smith, definitely viable for the price point. Now, we do have to keep an eye on Kenneth Walker. I don't think he's going to be available. They surprisingly have him listed as questionable. He hasn't practiced all week dealing with that hernia, so I'd be pretty surprised if he plays. But if he does, and like there's no limitations, you can definitely play Ken Walker, rookie, at 2.2K. But again, I'm not expecting that. So with that being said, Rashad Penny should be the early down back. He'll probably be utilized a bit in the pass scheme as well. He had a good year down the stretch, right? When he came in and was given, the starting role, he made the most of it, right? For the last 5 games, he played over 100 yards. So with Seattle kind of struggling, or with Seattle having subpar quarterback, probably below that, they might rely on the ground game a bit more. So I do have some interest in Rashad Penny, especially if Kenneth Walker's out. I think he'll be a guy that they try to get the ball to early and often. And at wide receiver, we have Metcalf at 8.4 and Lockett at 7K. So I think the ceiling is higher on DK Metcalf. Now, it seems like the last couple of years with these Seattle wide receivers, it's one or the other, right? At least the last 2 or 3 years, or however long DK's been has it been 2 or 3 years he's been in the league? Now, I forget. But it's like one of these guys will crush and the other one's going to completely bust. And there's like almost no in between. So when things do go right, though, I do think the ceiling is a bit higher in DK Metcalf for what it's worth. But I do have interest in both the main Seattle wide receivers. I don't think I would play both together unless you're really confident in Geno Smith. But yeah, I think the ceiling's a bit higher in Metcalf. Lockett is a bit cheaper at 7K. So that's kind of my take on the Seattle wide receivers. At tight end, Noah Fant is 6'2", so another revenge game for him. Didn't do a ton in the preseason, but we know he's a decent pass-catching tight end. Had a, just average year last year, nothing crazy. But, yeah, I think he's fine. Again, kind of just indifferent on him. Don't love him, don't hate him. The back quarterbacks, obviously. The kicker, Jason Myers, is in play. The Seahawks D at home, I mean, they are a lot cheaper, but I just have very little confidence in the Seahawks defense this year. So I would prefer going to Denver. So lock in a Seahawks pick 6 to start the game. And then scrolling down a bit more. So they do have D. Eskridge, the rookie, listed as the number 3 wide receiver. Now, if he in fact is going to be that number 3 wide receiver, I do think at the flat, or not the flat, but $1,000, it makes him a solid value play. They also have Marquise Goodwin, who they have listed as the number 4 wide receiver. So I would prefer Eskridge for that reason of he's listed ahead of him on the depth chart and cheaper. Doesn't make Goodwin completely out of play, but again, I think Eskridge, assuming he is going to be the wide receiver 3, and that's all indications are he's going to be for tomorrow, that makes him a decent value play. Now, I do have some interest in Travis Homer, especially if Kenneth Walker's out, right? Because Homer's listed as the backup running back, and he's a great pass catcher. So kind of how I see this going is, assuming Walker doesn't play, is you're going to see a lot of the early down work for Penny, maybe a little receiving work, and then a lot of the third down opportunities there for Travis Homer. So I do like Homer, get him out there. They also have DJ Dallas, but Homer listed ahead of him on the depth chart. I would prefer him at 1.4K. Draftkings is full point PPR, which I think makes him firmly in play for value. Below that, I mean, Will Dissly's the backup tight end. Again, more of a blocker, but he's $800. If these showdowns go like they did last year, just play as many tight ends as you can. And that's basically it. Then you're just kind of talking like third string tight ends and like number 5, number 6 wide receivers. There's not much else here. I'll just keep an eye on the actives and inactives. That was important for tonight, right? Because Tolbert was inactive for Dallas, and that changed some things that made Noah Brown a really good value play. So obviously, keep an eye on the actives and inactives. There's been a couple surprises, even like Kyle Rudolph too. Like that was we were not expecting that. He was inactive today for the Bucs. So always, when you're making your lineups, just make sure to check that and make sure all your guys that you have in your lineup are actually playing. So I think like Tolbert's like 2% in the big tournament. So that's just, again, putting your money right into the fire playing an inactive player. But yeah, guys, so I think that's going to wrap it up for the video. Again, if you have been enjoying the content, just make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I do appreciate you guys for watching. Thanks for putting up for my ranting at the beginning of the video. and I'll see you guys all in the next one.